Welcome back to the Cruise Dynasty podcast. Back at it again. Took a little 2-week break, Craft Man, something like that.
Yeah, we needed a little break though. Went to Disney World. Took a little 2-week hiatus. So excuse us if we a little rusty coming back, but had to get a little family time in, and now we back full swing. So Dynasty season is here.
Yep.
Redraft's right around the corner.
Right.
And we're going to be getting into all of it.
Yeah, man. Wrapping up rookie drafts. I've done about 3 or 4, and I just got one left. So rookie drafts are pretty much done. Ready to talk some startup stuff because, during that little time off, we did a little startup draft with a bunch of heavy hitters. This one's a serious one. And we're going to talk about that startup draft tonight. Do Dynasty. Shout out to them guys in there. Crap, man. It was super flex, tight end premium, PPR. Pretty much all these leagues are going super flex, tight end premium. But, hey, with that said, though, Crap, I ain't opposed to the one quarterback leagues, though. Like, I still like those leagues, too. Like, I feel like everybody does tight end premium. That's mainstream now, though. One quarterbacks, I'm with it.
Yeah, I hadn't done a dynasty league yet with just one quarterback because I just started dynasty last year. So last year was my first year playing, and I started really getting into it because I'm a nerd and I like to talk about fantasy football in March and in June and shit like that. So dynasty is perfect for me. So
right,
you can do it whatever way you want. I mean, the mainstream's really doing the super flex right now. I like the super flex because if you can get more players in the league, then that's probably the best way to do it. You don't want to have valuable quarterbacks on free agency, I feel like. So I do like the super flex, but I ain't opposed to trying something different neither.
right. So we're just gonna dive right into it. What else do we have to say about this startup, man? Anything else?
Nah, I did want to start off though by asking you before we get into the whole draft and what went down. What was your plan going into the draft when you were doing your mocks? Did it kind of work out the way you wanted it to, or was it? What was your game plan going in?
Yeah. So for me, I was just going with my best. At the best I could, I was going to try to go quarterback, no matter what. I mean, I was willing to draft, I would have drafted. I ended up going Justin Fields and Kyler Murray. I was going to smash on Kyler Murray in the second, but I would have been willing to draft, Dak Prescott right there, who went, I mean, where did he go? It was something crazy.
He went
3-2, I think. 3-2, that is where Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I would have been willing to take him at the second round right there. I was going to take anybody. I would have considered these rookies. Would have considered one of them, maybe Bryce Young. But as far as the rest of the draft goes, I was just going to go with the flow, see who I was going to get on that third round reversal. But what happened is I pretty much stayed young. I just started looking. I was chilling with a kill. Of course, we smoking blunts. So by the time I looked down at my team, I'm like, damn, I done reeled off 3 young guys. I mean, and didn't stop. I pretty much just went with it the whole way. So pretty much I got a team that's young. We'll get into that a little bit, but that was my main. A lot of different strategies went down in this league. We're gonna dive into a few of these, but what about you, Craft Man?
Yeah. I feel like everybody did real well. Usually I like to talk shit and hate on people. So I'm gonna just say that I think everybody did a really good job drafting in this one. You can tell it's gonna be competitive, but yeah, my strategy going in was really I ended up getting Jalen Hurts at the 104, which I thought, no way. I was thinking Joe Burrow the whole time before the draft. And but going in, I was really just going to draft my one quarterback, my heavy hitter with Joe Burrow or Hurts, and then I was going to treat it like it was a one quarterback league. And that's what I did. I treated it like it was a one QB league after the first round. So it worked out good. I wasn't going to get Prescott there. I thought about it all the whole time, the whole, like 2 months ahead of time before we did this draft. But I did that. That was really and when I did the mock drafts, that was my only scenario that I was trying to go back and forth against, was drafting a QB in the second or not. And I decided I wasn't going to do it.
Right. Well, shoot, let's just start from the top, man. At the 101, our tech guy, man, by the way, man, our tech guy just had a son. Like, shoot, we're recording this Friday night. I'm pretty sure he had a son. Was it Wednesday? It was something like that.
Wednesday.
His second son, he's got a 1-year-old too, so back to back. Yep. Congrats, Chris. Hopefully he'll listen to this.
Yep.
But yeah,
congrats to Chris.
He had the number 1 pick, and he went Patty Mahomes. If you was at the 101, would you have went Josh Allen?
Yeah, I do have Josh Allen ranked higher, but it's so minuscule. It's not even worth getting into, really.
I would have went
whatever.
Patty. I guess this is the first big topic that I really wanted to get into. Our guy Crack Room, he shout out to Crack Room. He goes Justin Jefferson with his first pick. I was seeing Justin Jefferson, his ADP was at 103 all during the offseason, and it never moved. And then Crack Room took him right here to 3. So I guess my question for you is, Krav, would you have taken Jefferson at the 3? And if you wouldn't, where's that cutoff of quarterbacks? Like, where's the cutoff? Where will you take Justin Jefferson at?
So for me in this super flex, I was stoked when Hurts got there. Because I was at the 104. So I would have took Hurts over Jefferson. I would have took Burrow over Jefferson. And then it becomes a question. I like Lamar. I like the weapons he got. I think I'm a little bit more high on Lamar redraft than I am Dynasty, but I still think he went exactly where he probably should have. He went at the 107. But that would have been a tough decision if I was looking at, so if Burrow would have went, and then I was looking at Jefferson or Herbert or Jackson, then I would say, just pick your poison there, whichever one you want to go to. I think the 103, I would have definitely gone with Hurts, but that's just me. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement. I think it was like, I ain't gonna sit here and act like he like fucked up the pick or something. I think I just have a fear of not coming out of there with a quarterback. Like, I gotta go get a quarterback. So I think I was willing to go Hurts, Herbert, Burrow. I would have taken Lamar. I would have taken Trevor Lawrence. I was prepared to even take Justin Fields, who I ended up with anyways. I was prepared to take him over Justin. Well, see, that was the thing. I was talking to Akil about it. I wish he was on tonight, man. I just didn't know if I should take Justin Jefferson or because if he drops to me at the 109, it's like, dang, man, this dude dropped to the 109. So
yeah, Chase. Could have took Chase.
Right. That's true. I mean, so it's like Justin Fields, quarterback. I got a game plan for Justin Fields. He's probably going to have a good year this coming up year. So I would have taken a few quarterbacks myself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with him taking Jefferson at 3. I think it's a good pick. My problem was who he drafted in the second with his quarterback pick. Is if you want to go Jefferson first, it's fine. But at the 103, but he went with C.J. Stroud in the second. And if I'm taking Jefferson in the first and I'm waiting on a quarterback, I'm going to get somebody that's been in the league that has proven something. And at that point, he could have took Dak Prescott, which would have been my pick instead of C.J. Stroud. So, because I don't want to take that much risk missing out on a quarterback, because if your number one QB C.J. Stroud, he better hit, and he's playing with the Texans. So, I'm not thinking he's going to have a great first year at all. He's probably going to be definitely outside of the top 12, maybe outside of the top 24 QBs this year.
Right. So we went number one Patty, then Josh Allen, then Justin Jefferson, then Kraft man went Jalen Hurts, and when I seen that Justin Jefferson had a win at the 103, I was standing there. I was like, I know Kraft man's going Jalen Hurts. I just knew it. I knew he was probably sitting there happy as fuck. I was like, damn. But because I really didn't think he was going to drop to the 104, and then you was talking about going Joe Burrow, and he ended up dropping to the 106. So, what you think about your pick, Kraft man?
Yeah, we had a 10-minute clock for that night, and it took me 1 second to make that pick. So I didn't have to think about that one at all. I mean, it was between. I thought, I told you, I thought Burrow the whole time, because I just knew Hurts was going at 3. So according to my rankings, Hurts was ahead. I picked. It was the easiest pick of the draft by far for me.
Right. P. Miller. I was on the phone with his P. Miller 91. Shout out to the cuz, the poor man. He went Justin Herbert at the 105.
Over Burrow.
His was a rankings thing too. He said, "Hey, I got Herbert ranked higher. Took him at the 105." Akil. He see, this is the thing with Akil. I think he was not expecting Joe Burrow was going to fall to the 106. I think he was probably prepared to take someone like Lamar or something like that. But he was like, Joe Burrow at the 106, you got to take it, and I agree. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question between Burrow, Herbert, and Lamar. Really, they're in the same kind of tier to me. But Herbert, you just can't go off of last year. He had rib injuries. Mike Williams was out. Keenan Allen was out. They are older. Joe Burrow definitely. That's the thing that would put Joe Burrow over Herbert for me, is just based on his receivers are younger, and they're going to be there for a longer period of time. So that was the only reason I took Burrow over Herbert. But I mean, I wouldn't mind having either one of them. I don't blame P. Miller for calling a shot and getting Herbert. I drafted Herbert last year at the 102 over Mahomes, and totally fucked that up.
Hey, I was right there with you, Kraft. I was saying the same shit. I would have taken Herbert the 102 too. I was saying Patrick Mahomes was sliding to the 103. Now I'm saying I would never pass up on Patrick Mahomes.
It's funny how 1 year changes things, ain't it?
Right.
This is a story that I was thinking about. Yeah, how 1 year changes things. And Joe Mixon last year was like a second round, third round startup pick.
Right.
And I don't even know where he went in this draft. I mean, it had to have been like 6th or 7th round. It's just funny. It's funny how 1 year just totally changes everybody's opinion on something. Even if they had to deal with injuries last year, like Herbert did.
Yeah, Joe Mixon, he went at the 7-1. Has had a good offseason as far as news goes. All right, next, so David DT. He had the one. Well, let me get first before I get to DT. Oh, Fluxfield, JD Fluxfield. Is that right, JD Fluxfield?
Yeah, it's JD. JD's good.
JD went Lamar Jackson. So basically, there's like this next tier with Lamar, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Where do you stand on that? I think, me, I'm a Clemson guy, so I would have went Trevor Lawrence, and that's who I really wanted in this draft. But Lamar at the 107, can't complain with that.
Definitely not. I mean, I think Lamar is just a generational talent. I would have taken Lamar over Lawrence because I've seen the upside of Lamar. The MVP year that he had, it's been 3 years since that happened, but they're bringing in a lot more than they had last year. He was working with Duvernay and an injured Bateman who got hurt
Right.
and whoever else, and now they paid him. They've you know re-upped the wide receiver core, so I was extremely high on Lamar coming into this, but I don't. I think Lamar is a tier ahead of Trevor Lawrence, but I know you love. I could definitely see Trevor Lawrence taking a big step up. I know you. I know you really like Lawrence.
Yep. Oh yeah, and I'm biased. There's no doubt about it. But to me, I feel like Trevor Lawrence at the right now is still a buy low situation. I mean, I could see him jumping up in that top. I could easily see him being up there with Justin Herbert in that area right there.
You want, yeah, you want to get him like a year before the real, because he did break out last year. It was like from his rookie year. Last year was 5 times better than his rookie
Yeah,
year. And if he takes
big
another
time.
step up with the weapons he got, I mean, he could be. You could be looking at him in a startup next year, right behind Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, or something. So you seen what happened with Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts was practically dead, and now he's going at the 104. So
Yeah,
it
I
just in
think
a 1 year period.
I think I got Jalen Hurts in the third round in a startup super flex startup last year. So
Yeah.
all right, so David he goes Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields. Where do you stand on that one? Would you do Lawrence or Fields?
That one's tough to me. I would go Lawrence just based on the weapons around him. Justin Fields does get the rushing upside, but Chicago, you know, I'm a Packers fan. Fuck Chicago, but
Right.
Justin Fields, it went the way I think it should have went according to my rankings. So the upside goes with Justin Fields with the rushing, but Trevor Lawrence with the weapons. It's just a safe pick at this point. The Jaguars look like they're a pretty good franchise moving forward on offense, at least.
Yep, definitely reasons to be optimistic. So I was at the 109 and I went Justin Fields. That was a no brainer for me. So then after this, wide receivers they start coming off the board. Our guy Noah Dick Blower. Shout out to the Dick Blower. Went Jamar Chase. Um, I like the pick. Um, we're gonna get into Dick Blower's strategy period. Because
Yeah,
he decides to punt on quarterback pretty much in a super flex. And
yeah.
super flex quarterback is king, but I look at his team and his team is stacked. So he starts off with Jamar Chase. What you think about the pick?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to Noah every day, and he's pretty much told me he's taking. I mean, even Jefferson was making it that far in mock drafts, so he was pretty much he knew that the main quarterbacks were coming off because if you're looking at the board, you took Justin Fields. The next quarterback that went off is Deshaun Watson, and that's a massive tier break, right?
Right.
In my opinion, I think
Right
that's a
now.
big tier break. Yeah, so I mean, he could either reach for Kyler or Deshaun, but if you take Kyler, you're kind of, I wouldn't say conceding this year, but you're telling yourself like, I don't know what's going to happen with Kyler. He could start week 1 or he could miss the whole season. So that would have been my pick there for sure too. So I think he made a good decision based on the tier break of quarterbacks. You don't want to get stuck in a draft just saying I'm gonna do this. Like I'm drafting a quarterback in round 1. Nah, you go with your rankings, you go with your board. And Jamar Chase was the right pick
Right.
at that point.
Yeah. So he goes Jamar. Will Savage goes CD at the 111, and then Duncan goes Deshaun Watson at the 112 to close it out. CD sneaking into that first round. Um, you know me, I got CD number 3 in Dynasty. So
Same.
I like that pick as well. And then Deshaun Watson closing it out. I'm a little bit higher on Deshaun Watson. I think there's reasons to be optimistic. I wouldn't have mind if Deshaun dropped to the second. I mean, if it came to between like Kyler and Deshaun Watson, I would have still taken Kyler. But Will, while we're talking about it, he went CD in the first round, but then he goes Anthony Richardson uh around that
Yeah,
in that second round right there, taking a big swing right there. Uh, um, so we'll get into that. Let me
big
recap it
swing.
real quick. It went Patty Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, and Deshaun Watson at the 112. Then Duncan goes Bijan Robinson at the 2-1. So our first running back comes off the board. And then, like you said, Will went Anthony Richardson. So a couple rookies off the board back to back. What you think about that right there? Bijan at the 2-1. Pretty much everybody's number one dynasty ranked running back. At least
Not
what
mine.
I've seen. Yeah, not you and me and you. I was like you know, probably one of the last ones to hold off. You're the last one. Once he went to the Falcons, it was over for me. I was like, I'm gonna put him number one. But what
Yeah,
you think about the picks, Kraft?
yeah. I mean, I did hold off on Bijan because the hype was just crazy high before the draft, and I was like, I've got to see where this guy goes before I even rank him number one. But I mean, he's number two. I got Brees Hall at number one. You ain't got to wait long on in a dynasty league where you think it's going to last for a long time, 5 years. I'll give up a couple weeks for Brees Hall to come back from his injury, showing what he's shown last year. But I like the pick. Anthony Richardson, though, I do not like the pick. This is probably the first criticism I give out of all the picks. I got Anthony Richardson ranked as my 15th quarterback coming off. So, I mean, I got Dak above him, Tua, Bryce Young, and Tua. Speaking of Tua, he went at the 4-12, and Anthony Richardson went at the 2-2. You talk about value. I just don't. I just don't see it. I mean, I like Anthony Richardson as far as fantasy goes, but as a quarterback prospect, I don't know. That takes some balls to make that pick for sure.
Yeah, if you've listened to our rookie content before the NFL draft, me and Kraft are not big Anthony Richardson guys, but we do recognize that the rushing upside is there fantasy wise. Like to me, he's more of like a redraft play. But for me, not even this year. Like I wouldn't even want him in redraft this year. Like he's like a redraft year two type play. I could see in
Yeah,
some situation, but I mean to have. But with that said, he did get Dak Prescott in the third, so it does kind of make
yeah.
up for it. I don't know how Dak Prescott dropped that far, but you know,
Daniel Jones. Well, never mind. We had that reversal, so he didn't go behind Jones.
right. So yeah, that big risk for that one right there. But hey, if it pays off, I mean, me and you are the ones that be sitting here looking like fools next year. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So like we said, Dick Blower, he didn't go quarterback again. He goes Christian McCaffrey. Um, then I go Kyler Murray at the 2-4, and this right here was automatic. I've been every mock I did, I was like, usually I like to see where players go, but I just wasn't doing that with Kyler. I just kept on hitting it. If he ever dropped to the second round, this dude last year in startups was going at the 104, 105. Now I'm sitting here at the 204. I done got him at the 204. I was like, great value. I don't really hate on Kyler Murray as a fantasy quarterback. In real life, he would probably drive me crazy, but
No.
I feel like some of the hate from his real quarterback status kind of spills over into the fantasy side of Kyler Murray, and I don't agree with that. I think even if Kyler Murray, if the Cardinals were so bad and then they tanked and went and got that big quarterback, I don't Caleb Williams, they got him next year. Kyler went somewhere else. I would still want Kyler Murray. He'd probably end up in a better landing spot. So, so easy pick for me.
Yeah. I think that's just bullshit talk too, to tell you the truth. Like, if the Cardinals end up at the 101, they're not even going to take Caleb Williams. I mean, they got Kyler, who is he's a good NFL. I mean, he didn't have the best team around him last year, but I feel like he's a pretty decent NFL quarterback. I mean, you're going to waste your one-on-one on that, but I don't even want to get into that too much because, they're already talking about 2024. But, yeah, that was automatic, especially what you did after you got Kyler, where you kind of, I'm not going to say you punted on this year, but you went young, so it kind of fits the bill of, you be willing to wait on Kyler to come back a little bit.
Right. No doubt. So David, right after this, he goes Waddle, and basically I wanted to talk about this because to me it's close when I do a Dynasty rankings or whatever. I always go CD 3, AJ Brown 4, Jalen Waddle 5, and this startup right here, Jalen Waddle, he goes before AJ Brown. I guess the reason why I bring it up is because I do my rankings, but I always say just because I rank one player higher doesn't mean I wouldn't take them in that order in a startup. I think I'd still go AJ Brown over Jalen Waddle. What do you say, Kraft?
Yeah, I'd have gone AJ Brown there too. I like both of the talents, but Jalen Waddle's the number 2 on his team, and AJ Brown's the number 1 on his team. So I like, and they both are big yards per reception guys. They're both like 17 yards per reception, 18 yards per reception. They're both big play guys. So I'll just take the better offense, which I think Philly, with the more stable quarterback, which I think is Hurts at this point because people are a little concerned about Tua. So I think I'd have gone AJ Brown there too because they're similar players, not similar body types at all, but similar players as far as where their fantasy production comes from. They're not PPR guys. They're not going to get 100+ receptions, but they're big play guys.
Right. So after that, Jonathan Taylor goes at the 2-6. I feel like that's pretty good value, honestly, at the 2-6. But I guess the thing is about Jonathan Taylor, the reason why I would pass is just because running back position, how many more years does he got left? I feel like my main strategy when I come into these startups is I'm just going to hit on these wide receivers. And let's just see where the running backs fall, try to get them lower, add on, piece it apart, piece it up a little bit. But we get Jonathan Taylor right here. What do you think about him going at the 2-6? He was going in first rounds last year.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all because me and you have both said on this podcast that we're not going to write off Jonathan Taylor for one bad year. I mean, McCaffrey had 2 bad years in a row, and you see he went at the 203 because he had a great year last year. It's all based on recency bias, and I'm not falling for that recency bias because there's been so many players who have had one bad year in their career. I mean, Saquon's had 2 or 3 bad years, with injuries. So I think it's a good pick right there. I don't think it was a reach at all.
Yep. So we look at old Fluxfield's team, and like you talk about Saquon, he goes Saquon at the 3-6, Stephon Diggs at the 4-7. So his team looks like a pretty much a win now team going with Lamar. He's got some veteran guys. So that's the approach he took. Akil Galani at the 2-7 has Bryce Young. So I was about to say our first rookie quarterback. He's not. He's our second rookie quarterback. What do you think, though? He goes Joe Burrow, then he goes Bryce Young. Quarterback. Only 2 people went quarterback. That was me and Akil. So,
yeah.
What you think about the pick, Bryce Young?
I mean, I got Dak ranked ahead of him. I got Tua ranked ahead of him. So I'm not super stoked about the pick. I wasn't. As far as my team went, there was no way I was drafting Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud in my startup draft. I just don't think that either one of them really had the the rushing upside or just they're not as impressive to me as some of the QB prospects that have come out in the past. So I would have gone a different QB there, but it could pay off. Bryce Young he's an impressive quarterback. He did really well in college, and I just don't know. What do you think, man? I don't necessarily like the pick too much.
I mean, honestly, I don't mind it. You could have talked me into Bryce Young if I would have went wide receiver first. Like you could have, but he obviously he wouldn't have got to me. I mean, Bryce Young. My thing is I've been pretty high on Bryce Young. Like I like him better than Stroud and Anthony Richardson. So I've been a believer in Bryce Young since his first year. He's going to Carolina. You know what? I don't really mind it. I mean, who's his
Yeah,
third quarterback? He came down and got Aaron Rodgers, so he has somebody that could take his spot
yeah,
for the beginning phases. So really, you know what? If he is, let's just say this: if Bryce Young's is there years where he could finish in the top 12 in his career? I'd say probably so. And if that's the case, him being my second quarterback,
yeah.
not too
I mean, it
bad.
was a game plan. Like you said, he got Aaron Rodgers later. Kill had a really good draft
Yeah,
overall. So, he had a game plan in mind. Like you said, he got a good steady quarterback for the next 2 years or 1 or 2 years with Rodgers, and we'll see what Bryce Young turns into. So I don't think he drafted Bryce Young to be like a win now.
right.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna compete right now with Bryce Young. I think he had a game plan in mind that he's gonna get a win now quarterback later and not put himself out of contention this year. Also,
Right, because along with his team, he goes T. Higgins, Devontae, then goes Chubb in the fifth. And I expect Chubb to have a pretty good year this year. But then I wanted to talk about this.
good value.
I wanted to talk about this little pocket of value right here with these receivers. Traylon Burks at the 6-6, at the 7-7, he went Marquise Brown, and then Jahan Dotson in the 8th round. Jeez, that's a pretty good little pocket. Not to mention he got Chubb in the 5th. So he's definitely in win now mode. He can compete this year, and he's good 4 years to come. Would you agree
Yeah,
with that?
yeah, yeah, I agree. He had a really good draft. He got a lot of good value. Chubb in the 5th, great value. I think he's going to be great for at least the next 2 years. And when I look at it with running backs, if I can get 2 to 3 years of just crazy production, I'm gonna take it all day.
Right.
And Nick Chubb's one of them guys. So, and then Traylon Burks, he's kind of up in the air for me. I do like him. I like the talent, but I just do not like that Titans offense. I know he's the number one in that offense, but you got to be. There's not many receivers that really produce in terrible offenses. I mean, you had DeAndre Hopkins for a decent amount of years. It's just a tough risk to take to me, especially with no other receivers around him, and your quarterback is Tannehill and Will Levis. So,
But at the 6th round, for what it could be, oh,
I don't know. I don't think that's a. I think it's where it should be. I'm not going to say he.
okay.
I'm not going to say he reached or didn't get good value. I just think that's about right.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good value though, or a reach.
All right. All right. I see it. I see it. I could kind of get on board with you because it does depend on what happens at quarterback for Tennessee. So, but if we're talking about what Traylon could be, if you really believe in the guy, then 6-6, pretty good.
What? He better be. He better be fucking
He
good
better be.
because they have nobody else. He has to be a true alpha because I mean the Titans wide receiver core is god awful, and that just frightens me a little bit
Right.
because you called it last year when we were talking about the Titans. You said they're 1 year away from being in rebuild,
Yeah. And
and
then
it looks like that's the direction they're heading.
at the 208, poor man P. Miller goes A.J. Brown, and then Craftman at the 209 goes Garrett Wilson. So poor man P. Miller at the 208, he goes Herbert, A.J. Brown, then goes Cooper Kupp in the third. So this dude's he's competing right now. Hawkinson in the
Yep.
fourth. What do you think about the pick, AJ Brown over Garrett Wilson? Basically, he just made a decision right there. Like, I'm competing now. I want AJ Brown. I feel like Garrett Wilson does put you in compete now mode too. But the younger guy, maybe there's just way less questions. But still, what about you? If you're at the 208, since you took Garrett Wilson at the 209, would you have gone Wilson or Brown?
Oh, I'd have gone Brown. Phil sniped me on 2 picks in a row, so I can't. I'm not going to say anything about Phil except for he's a son of a bitch. But I mean, he did snipe me. I was sitting there talking to Noah while we were drafting. I was like, if AJ Brown makes it, it's going to be as easy as that Jalen Hurts pick. I'm going to pick him within 1 second when it gets to me. So yeah, it made a very tough decision for me when he picked AJ Brown because I was between Garrett Wilson, which is my number 7 ranked receiver, and Breece Hall, which is my number 1 ranked running back. And the way the draft was going, I kind of, like you said earlier, I felt like I could get a little bit more value on running backs because I know this is where you got to know your league and who is playing in it. And I felt like this league was going to be very receiver heavy starting off. So I just wanted to get Garrett Wilson. So that was my pick at the 2-9.
We talked about it earlier. Crack Room went C.J. Stroud at the 210. Then Brees Hall goes to at the 211. Shout out to Z. And then Amon Ra, our tech guy Chris, at the 212. How do you think the end of that round shaped out? Brees Hall, I know you like that pick at the 211.
Mm-hmm. And Amon Ra is good. He's a good pick right there. I know Chris loves Amon Ra. We had a pretty heavy discussion about Amon Ra, but that was, I mean, I'm a Jameson Williams lover, but the betting on the games didn't help me out at all. But
Yeah.
I really do like Amon Ra. He's ranked in my top 12, so he went accordingly to where I think he probably should go. But talk about the next pick. At the 3-1.
3-1 goes Kyle Pitts. Man, I listen, man, I was totally shocked. Kyle Pitts. I'm not shocked at Big Dump for taking him, but I was shocked Kyle Pitts. I wasn't expecting it at that time, but I mean, I still got him ranked number 1 in Dynasty. I think this is the year he's got to he better do it this year. He's got to step up this year. But what do you think about the pick? We had a 3rd round reversal, by the way, for anybody out there. If you're doing a tight end premium, Superflex tight end premium draft, add that 3rd round reversal in there. But yeah, Kyle Pitts. I mean, basically, Dunk's approaching the draft to me. Kraft was, I'm gonna go get the Dynasty. Go out there and get the best running back. Then he goes out there and gets the best tight end. So that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, he took him over Dak though in a super flex, so that kind of gave. I don't know. I'd have took Dak 100 times before I took Kyle Pitts. Probably even Tua, but
that's the thing. He got Tua at the 412, which is crazy in itself. I mean,
yeah, he did end up getting Tua, but there was not. He didn't know that was going to happen at the time, which it ended up working out really well. But yeah, Kyle Pitts, he's 3rd in my rankings at tight ends. But the reason he's so down on me is not because of the talent. I think he's talented as hell, but the Falcons like to run the football. He's got 2 Falcons in his top 3 picks. So you're limited in your upside on a weekly basis anyway, because they're not going to be a top 10 offense this year, I wouldn't imagine, unless something really changes. So you're limited in your upside on a weekly basis with them 2 picks, and they don't throw the ball that often. And Drake London he's a stud in his own right. So I just don't believe Kyle Pitts. I think a good season for Kyle Pitts this year would be about 806, 807, which it's a good year for a tight end, but with London there, with Bijan there getting a lot of receiving work, I just don't see a big uptick for Kyle Pitts as far as the situation goes. And I know you love situation.
Yep, I do love situation, but there were times when the tight end was eating in Tennessee back in the day. Donu Smith. Who else was over there?
Okay.
They had some good
All
times,
right.
some good days. I can see that we
Not to go at
run
the
the ball.
301. I think he's getting based off of talent right now, which I do think he
Yeah,
is the most talented and the youngest at tight end right now. He could be, I'm thinking people think he's the next Travis Kelce, but Travis Kelce is playing with Patrick Mahomes the back half of his career. So
right.
I'm not. I just don't. I wouldn't. Kyle Pitts was not on my board at any point in time in this draft.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't gonna take him either. But look, man, let's get into some of these. Let's talk about some of these individual teams real quick. We went through the first couple rounds. That's how our startup shook out. If you wanna, we'll be posting our startup. We'll put it on Twitter if you really want to check it out. Check us out on Be the Craft Man on Twitter. We'll post the startup on there. Because I want to get in. I want to talk about our guy. We've had him on the podcast. I want to talk about Noah Dickblower. I mentioned it earlier. I'm gonna reel off his draft. He went Jamar in the first round, Christian McCaffrey in the second, Tyreek Hill in the third, DK Metcalf in the fourth. Then he goes Jared Goff in the fifth, Swift in the sixth, and then Geno in the seventh. And the reason why I want to bring him up is because he punts on quarterback, right? But then he goes to these two
Yeah.
quarterbacks that me and you both. I mean, I like both of these guys. You know how I feel about Jared Goff. I would have taken Jared Goff. Man, I would have taken Jared Goff. I don't know. He probably went where I.
Above. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so but Geno Smith in the seventh, he just got a deal. They didn't draft a quarterback, and dang, Geno set up nice. Just drafted him a wide receiver, bring in a second round running back. He said good. So I like the strategy that. Now, would I have done it? Hell no. I feel like I ain't got the balls to not come out of there with some quarterbacks. But I got to give him credit. What you say?
Yeah. I mean, we were sitting here drafting together, and we were talking through this pick, and I told him, I said, man, I know you're wanting a quarterback here. I wasn't trying to give him the quarterback. I said Geno finished as a QB5 last year. That's all I said. And I was kind of protecting myself because I wanted Kirk Cousins instead of Geno. So I was kind of pushing him. I was pushing him a little bit towards Geno, and he ended up taking him. But it's going to work out. They got Njigba coming in. They got Lockett. They got Metcalf there. His quarterback situation, especially for probably this year and next year, is going to be just as good as most of the teams in the league. So he's definitely in win now mode. He's gonna have to draft some. He did get Desmond Ridder later, but I could see Desmond Ridder as the same way I see Jordan Love and Sam Howell, where it could be they could start 8 games this year, and we might never see him start another game. But he's gonna have to draft some quarterbacks later in the rookie drafts, but I think he's set up really well, especially taking a different approach than everybody else.
Yeah, man. That's the while everybody zigs, he definitely did that. I wanted to talk about poor man P. Miller's. This dude clearly competing, and I've done 3 startup drafts with poor man P. Miller, and this dude has done the same approach every time. I'm pretty sure, at least in 2 of them, I know for a fact. So his draft, like we said, Herbert, AJ Brown, but then he goes Cooper Kupp at the 3-8. I talked to him all the time. I knew if Cooper Kupp came to him in the 3rd round, he was taking him no matter what. So that puts you in win now mode. I mean, you were kind of already trending that way anyways. So then you go get Hawkinson in the 4th. So you get you a top tight end. Then you go get Derrick Henry in the 5th. which to me is some good value if you're really going for it. If this dude really has one more year left in him, which he probably does, honestly, if we're just being real about it, it's a good pick at the 5'8". So what do you think about? I mean, we could go on. We could keep on going on. Rashad White in the 7th, who I like. I know you're not as high
Yeah.
on him, but Pittman at the 6th in the 6th round. I think me and you are kind of on the same page with that. Like this was good value to me, but like Anthony Richardson, I don't know what that passing game is going to look like because his upside is coming through the rushing game. It ain't through the passing game. But
Yeah.
what do you think about poor man's draft? A lot of veterans. He's going for it now.
Well, he, like I said, he stole a lot of my picks because I'm always, I don't follow the whole thing in Dynasty where you go for it now and then you rebuild and then you go for it and you rebuild. I think you can play Dynasty all the way throughout and never rebuild if you do it right. I'm not trying to spend 3 years trying to rebuild a team. I mean, I'm here to win, and you can make trades in the middle of the season. I mean, if you think you're in win now mode, and for some reason your team ain't performing the way you want it to perform, you can get a little younger, but you don't have to go through a full rebuild. So
Yeah.
I don't mind the approach at all. You said he took Derrick Henry at the 5'8", but looking at the running backs that went after him, I feel like it was an easy choice. I mean, like you said, he already approached it as a win now team with Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Herbert, and I took Javonte Williams right after him. But then it was like Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard would have been interesting right there, I feel like, but I think Phil just had an easy selection right there at Derrick Henry. I don't even know if he was for sure going for him, but with the running backs left on the board, I think it was just an easy selection for him, really.
Right.
I mean, what do you think?
I can't agree. Yeah. Well,
Look at the running backs that went after him. Would you have taken any of them over Henry? I mean, maybe Dobbins or Pollard,
but you know me, like
Javonte Williams.
I just think different from Phil. Like I'm just thinking younger. You know what I'm saying? Phil's. I just don't think Phil thinks that way. He just thinks I'm gonna get this older guy. But I guess to me the question was is what if Nick Chubb drops the P? Is he gonna take Nick Chubb
Yeah.
over? But I'm talking about we're talking about poor man, the big Alabama fan over here. I'm wondering if he would pick Nick Chubb over Derrick Henry. I don't mean he would, but would he?
Yeah. I would. Yeah. I think Phil would have took Chubb because he has. I actually think Chubb has just as much upside this year as Derrick Henry does.
Right.
For just talking short term. So I think Phil would think the same way. We could ask him, but he's not here.
Yeah.
Damn it. But
But to go on with it, I know he got Jordan Love in the 9th. So if Jordan Love really pans out to be something good, he's setting real good. And then Aaron Jones in the 8th round, Waller in the 10th, your boy Tank Bigsby in the 11th. This the only pick. This the only pick right here in the whole draft where I was just like,
awful.
what the
Awful pick.
Poor man's got to be called out. Got to be called out. Kyle Trask in the 12th round. Crap. I mean, I don't know, man. He said he got sniped.
He went before. He got sniped Matthew Stafford, but you go Sam Howell went after him, and I guess he was just so desperate. Aaron Rodgers did go before, but I guess it was pretty much him or Sam Howell looking at the draft board as far as, and then you had Tannehill and Baker Mayfield later. But I'd have took Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield went in the 18th round, and Phil drafted Kyle Trask in the 12th. So I'd rather have Baker on my team than Trask easily. I think he's the starter. So
other than that,
that was crazy.
That one caught me off guard. I think teams like Zamil, he was at the 2 spot, and then me got a lot of young guys, a lot of young talent. He pretty much went young throughout the draft. Brees Hall in Jigba. He did get Mark Andrews, but then Quentin Johnson, Jameson Williams, young, pretty much stayed young. Was there any more other interesting teams? I know there was a few, but we might have touched on them all.
I mean, as far as interesting teams, I don't know. Everybody, like I said, everybody had a pretty good draft, and everybody went their own way. But as far as value, Zay Flowers went in the 6th, and I was talking to Noah about it. And Zay Flowers went in the 6th, and Rashad Bateman, he ended up going in the 9th. And I was thinking to myself, they're only 1 year apart. They're really 1 year difference. Rashad Bateman is 24, and well, he will be 24, and I think it was like November or September. And Zay Flowers is 22, going on 23. So they're really about 1 year apart, and I would have taken Rashad Bateman over Zay Flowers, period, if they were in the same round. So I think that was a good deal on the Ravens receiver core, whoever got Bateman there.
That was David, and he went in the 9th round. Yep, I agree. That was a good pick.
Yep. But everybody's hyped. It was right after the rookie draft, so, the rookies are going to be pushed up a little higher. And that's one thing that I could tell everybody to think about is just don't push these rookies up too far up, because 1 year difference in the wide receiver world is it's nothing. A 22-year-old versus a 24-year-old, there's no difference.
Right.
In the wide receiver world. I could see it in the running back aspect where you got a 22-year-old versus a 25-year-old running back. Yeah, that's a major difference. But wide receivers, you don't need to look at age quite as much when it's just a year or two.
Some good values. Another good one like Chris. He over here. He had a real good draft. Chris was definitely picking players I wanted, like Miles Sanders in the 8th round. That's a good pick. I think James Conner in the 10th. That's a good pick. So, Chris is he's kind of got one of those teams that's ready to go ahead and compete. Might need a little bit of wide receiver help, but his running back room is stout. And if Russell Wilson, he believes in Russell Wilson, that's just, puts you competing.
I think my favorite picks in my draft, I haven't been talking about my team much. I don't want to try to go all out on my team because, like I said, everybody did well. But my favorite picks in my draft was I got Dobbins at the 6'4", and I got Damian Harris in the 14th round. So that was the two picks where I was like, I felt like I got really good value. And they were just easy picks at the spot, but I think Roshan Johnson went above Damian Harris. Israel Abanikanda went above Damian Harris. I mean, if y'all just, I was just happy about that pick at that point.
All right.
Devin Singletary went above Damian Harris.
Yeah, that was good value. I agree with that. Anything else about your team, Craftman? You want to break it down a little bit more?
No, I mean, I really just went. I didn't go all in on anything. My receiving core needs a little help. I got some good young running backs. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs in the 4th round. And I was talking to y'all after the draft. I said, "But Dan, what's the difference between DeAndre Swift and Jahmyr Gibbs?" DeAndre Swift was going in the 1st or 2nd round in startups last year. He was 3 years older than Jahmyr Gibbs and not as good of a pass catcher. So Jahmyr Gibbs in the 4th round is Kenneth Walker went above Jahmyr Gibbs, and I got Jahmyr Gibbs ranked way ahead of Kenneth Walker at this point.
Yeah.
So I was happy about that pick.
I'm with you. I'm a big believer in what's about to take place with Jahmyr Gibbs.
In a full PPR, too.
Cool, yeah. I'll go through my team real quick. Let everybody know where I stood. I went Justin Fields, Kyler Murray. We talked about that. Tried to get my quarterback situation kind of set. So then I reeled off 3 young wide receivers, but like I said, it wasn't really intentional. It was I'm just picking the best player trying to make the best decisions, but then it just came out that way. I went Olave at a third, Drake London in the fourth, Jordan Addison in the fifth. Grabbed me a tight end at the sixth. Dallas Goedert at the 6'9". So then this is where I started going running backs. I just started reeling them off. I go Dameon Pierce, Kendre Miller. Then I got Brian Robinson in the 10th. The theme of my team is just, staying young. I was just picking young, like Romeo Dobbs in the 14-9. Marvin Mims. I wasn't like a huge Marvin Mims guy. I did like the technical. Went and got me a rookie. Traded Alexander Madison. Went and got me a quarterback at a tight end. That kind of stuff. So pretty much just stayed young. Got me some rookies. Then just tried to hit on values. Like I just start picking off quarterbacks. Like Sam Darnold in the 22nd. He could start at the beginning of the year, possibly. We don't know. Jared Stidham in the 26th. If things don't pan out with old Jimmy G, or where is Stidham at? He's in Denver. If things don't pan out with Russell Wilson, I got Hendon Hooker too. So I don't know, man. I try to hit the values, tried to stay young, hit the values like Dawson Knox in the 17th. Like I'm not a Dawson Knox guy, but 17th round, I mean, why not,
Yeah, I mean, you went young with Olave, London, and Addison, so I could see why you picked Kendre Miller over Dalvin Cook. But in most drafts, I wouldn't give that advice to take Kendre Miller over. Well, I mean, would you take Miller over Cook on a normal? If you're in a win now team, you're definitely taking Cook, right?
It just has. I just have to see what my team looks like. Because I've been a Kendre Miller the guy the whole way. Had him ranked third in my rookie rankings.
You love Kendre Miller.
I think it could.
And I'm starting to come around a little bit.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a tough one right there. Maybe I should have went Dalvin Cook. But I just saw Kendre Miller, and my eyes were beamed in. I just couldn't help it. I just had to pick it.
You got a massive deal on Madison, but then Noah came back and traded for it.
Yeah, look, I wasn't.
He got Madison from you.
I wasn't even gonna trade him, and he sent me one, and then I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep Madison, and then he traded me his next two picks, so I'm just like, fuck it. If he wants him that bad, what's Madison really gonna do? So I just traded him, and then I went and got Will Levis, and then I went and got Chig Unkonkwo, guys who were kind of on my radar, but these weren't even my picks. So I was just like, I'm gonna just try to get the value I can.
I got a question for you about Madison. Madison went in the 12th round in this draft, behind Jaden Reed, behind Kyle Trask, behind Jalen Hyatt, behind Juju. And I'll admit that I fucked up. I wanted Madison, and for some reason I got too drunk and forgot about him. I mean, that's really what happened. But if Dalvin Cook leaves, where does Madison go in a startup draft? I mean, how high does he possibly go?
I mean, I would take him I got him in the 12th, but then I traded him, take him over Brian Robinson, who I got in the 10th. I don't know, but here's the
Would you take him over Kendre Miller?
I'm reading it today that Dalvin Cook. Man, I don't know if but
not Kendre Miller.
Nah, but Kraft, this is what I was about to say. Dalvin Cook, he said, I've seen it was reported today, he's willing to take a pay cut to stay in Minnesota. So that situation, although it's already getting choppy again.
Yeah. That's one of the things you just had to take a risk on, and Madison's just been that premier handcuff, and that's really all he's been for a while. And me and you've talked about the running back landscape. It always seems like they're going to go somewhere, but don't nobody want to pay Dalvin Cook that money he already has on his contract. So, I mean, things could change. One thing we didn't mention today in the podcast is Hopkins got released.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out where he goes. But, yeah, I feel like Madison in the at least the least you can get out of Madison. You drafted him in the 12th. If you would have kept your pick, that's a major trade value for somebody who really believes in him anyway. I feel like he's 24 years old. So, and he's only done good things when he's been on the field. I mean, he puts up Dalvin Cook numbers when he gets a start. So, and you got the Dalvin Cook situation. If anything, you just draft him and trade him right away and get better value, really.
Right. Yep. I agree. I'm with you. Anything else we need to touch on this startup draft?
Not really. The only thing I could tell anybody else doing a startup draft is when you're looking to make your picks, think about value, obviously. Think about situation, but also think about what this player is in certain people's eyes. So me and Matt were talking about this. I drafted Amari Cooper in the 8th round, and I've been trying to trade him. But Amari Cooper just isn't one of them. It's kind of one of them names that people are wore out on a little bit. And Amari Cooper finished as wide receiver 10 last year. DK Metcalf finished as a wide receiver 16 last year. A couple years apart, obviously, in Dynasty. But DK Metcalf, when you say the name DK Metcalf compared to Amari Cooper, you're going to get so much better value in a trade. So that's one thing you need to think about when you're drafting also. And that's all I got to say.
Yep. I agree. We probably should have said that at the beginning, but Superflex, if you're just new, if this is the first podcast you ever listened to, quarterback is the king. Tight end premium means tight ends get more points. We add a little half point for the catch. When I do these startups, when I was first doing startups, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Now I realize I like to go get me some receivers and just build around that. One quarterback or Superflex. And Superflex, the quarterback, I have to go get quarterbacks. That's the way I feel. But as far as just general strategy, I like to go wide receivers. And then, because I'm big on running backs, but I'll try to capitalize on running backs a little later on if I can get other things set in stone. That's pretty much where I stand on a startup, though.
Yeah. I do have one other thing to say. We didn't get to the 3rd round. I drafted Travis Kelce at the 3-9. And one thing I got to say about Kelce is even if you aren't a win now team and you draft Travis Kelce, I looked up we played in another league where it was half point PPR, and Travis Kelce scored 372 points last year with a 1.5 points per reception with the tight end premium. Justin Jefferson, he outscored Justin Jefferson by 60 points last year with the tight end premium. So if you draft Kelce, maybe you're not winning this year. In the middle of the year, he's going to be the guy that everybody's looking to try to get.
Right.
So you can get incredible value with Kelce later on in the year. You just got to be patient. And that's what I'm going to try to do is if my team doesn't perform the way I want them to, and just get incredible value. So there's a decent amount of players like that. So that's one thing I wanted to point out, especially in that tight end premium.
Yep. Well, heck, man. I think that about wraps it on up. Overall, it was a good draft. Mocks are one thing, but when people put their real money on the line, let's see what people do. So then this is how it unfolded, man. It was a good draft. Check it out on Twitter. We'll post it up on there and let y'all see it. Anything else, crap, man? I think I'm about good to go.
No, I think we're good. Kincaid went in the 6th, but we'll leave that for another time.
Yeah. Just got traded again too in our league. So funny how it all works out. But yeah, man, check us out. You can find me at Crew Matt Hamm on Twitter. Crap, man, where can we check you out at?
At Craftman Pack Fan. I've been posting some stuff on Twitter, but I just ain't big enough. I ain't got that little blue check yet. I mean, I'm trying to work my way there, but it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, man, me and Crab, man, we in them Twitter streets, but check out, we got things cooking up. Always putting out the content. So thanks for listening. 5-star review, but I'm out.
Peace.